everybody's probably saying, what's going on?
Okay, we're back, right? Are we on? Everybody,
Yes,
sorry about that. These YouTube gremlins they've taken over, but I think we might have got it fixed. So we're gonna just jump right back into it.
Right, so ready for me, yeah? Right, I'll just present to everyone. Right, what I'm going to play to you here is a screen by Sarah Westall and Mauro Biglino. It's almost like a confession from the Vatican. Mauro used to translate scripture for the Vatican and has some very interesting things to say. I'll get the link to the actual stream dropped in chat. It's a two-part stream. So just sit back and listen. You've got some very important words that you need to hear.
The Bible tells us a story totally different from the one told in the theology. I just tell what I read, so no one told me what's going on. I just tell what I translate, and all the highest powerful priest in church knows perfectly what I'm going to tell, because these kind of things sooner or later must be told. They must be told.
I cherubini erano dei robot.
The cherubims were robots.
La Bibbia
I'm sorry, hold on a second. Who were robots?
I cherubini.
Cherubims.
Oh, so there was robots.
The angels, the cherubims.
The angels were
robots.
The angels were robots.
The angels named cherubims were robots.
What did they look like?
Erano macchine monoposto per volare.
They looked as a machine car with one seat made to fly.
E Yahweh ci volava stando seduto sopra come si sta seduti a cavallo.
And Yahweh flew with this machine like when you ride a horse.
Oh, so they were called caravans. But those were what they called the angels? The machines?
No, not caravans. Cherubim.
Okay, but that's what they called the angels, were these flying machines.
Cosa? Gli angeli volavano sulle macchine volanti? No, it was Yahweh that flew on the car machine, not the angels.
Okay, well, who were the angels?
Gli angeli erano il rango, la classe militare inferiore all'interno del gruppo degli Elohim.
The angels were the lowest class in the Elohim group.
Erano quelli che portavano gli ordini.
They were the men supposed to bring around the order.
Okay, so
erano I guardiani, I controllori.
They were like the guardian angel, the controller, the guardian, the controller, the guardian angel.
Okay.
I hope you heard that and you could understand that, people. Robots, technology, the workings in the underworld. This is what this guy is describing. This is just more confirmation of our research, a technological underworld that controls our luminaries and even nature itself. I'll carry on playing because there's some parts of scripture I'm going to play now that those for you what it's actually telling me. Keep listening.
And I heard the number of them which were sealed. And there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. And of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Nephthalim were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Simeon were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Levi were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Issachar were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Zebulun were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Joseph were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Benjamin were sealed 12,000. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues,
Right, I hope you caught that as well, people. Our realm is called Israel. The whole realm is called Israel, and it's divided into 12 sections, which we call the zodiac. Hope that's coming through clear enough for you guys. Right, I'm going to play something else now for you to watch. Hold on, before I do, I'll just say a quick thank you to Cat's Eyes and Michelle X for helping there with some scripture. They've helped me in the background with various verses of scripture relating to the mechanics of the world, basically. This is also, if you look at the map on screen, the grid, this is also what you would call the seal of God, described from scripture, designed to protect us and give us a realm that can thrive utilizing this technology. But now this technology has been compromised by man. Man has been reverse engineering it and bringing it into the human world since its discovery. Do you not wonder why everyone wants a particle accelerator and what its real purpose is? They desperately need a UFO alien agenda as the excuse for this technology, but space, as we have been told, does not exist. Zero gravity does not exist. It was invented to hide what truly holds and moves our luminaries around. Cherubims and technology, angels and particle accelerators. Keep watching, more to come. Right, I'm sure most or some of you at least will have heard of the Antikythera mechanism. There's some fantastic videos of this mechanism online. It is a very important find, and I urge anyone to watch the documentary if they haven't already done so. Would you believe the mechanism's importance wasn't recognized for 75 years? The Antikythera mechanism was discovered in the early 1900s by Greek sponge divers. They found the shipwreck, which was submerged nearly 150 feet while wearing gear that was standard for the early 20th century, canvas suits and copper helmets. When the original diver surfaced with reports of artifacts, horses and corpses, the captain assumed he had raptures of the deep, essentially a drunkenness as a result of the nitrogen in the breathing mix piped into the diving helmet, although the diver was actually fine. There seems to have been a lot of amazing discoveries in the early 1900s when you think of our research with the Nazca lines. Anyway, once the artifacts were recovered and analysed, it was found to have been on board the sunken Roman ship that was bound for Rome. The design was at first thought to have come from Archimedes, but further research reveals it was a Sumerian design. I've seen various sites online claiming different places of origin. The mechanism was determined to be the world's first computer. This computer could do something amazing. It could track the sun and the moon. A lever could be cranked by hand to turn the gears to show the movements of the sun, the moon, and the planets. Plus, it could track eclipses and the schedule for the Olympics. And it was accurate too. Nothing as sophisticated or even close appears again for more than 1,000 years. To account engineering, motion of the meshing gears, astronomy, lunar motion and phases, sun and lunar eclipses, geocentric theory, Hipparchus eccentric theory, the four known cycles, metonic, elliptic, Saros and exeligmos, the calendars that we use from Greeks in that era, and so on and so forth. Written on a bronze panel at the back of the mechanism suggests the inventor left either instructions for how to work it or an explanation of what the user was seeing. The inscription, which is in Koine Greek, the most common form of the ancient language, mentions the cycles, dials, and some of the functions of the mechanism. While the text doesn't specifically tell someone how to use it and assumes some amount of prior knowledge of astronomy, it provides written out labels for the person looking at the mechanism. Scholars discovered that the mechanism refers to eclipses, color, size, and associated winds. The mechanism includes hands or pointers for Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, all of which are easily visible in the sky, as well as a rotating ball that showed the phases of the moon. The parts that work, these planetary pointers, are gone, but text on the front plate of the mechanism confirms that the planetary motion was modelled mathematically using numerous complex keys and that it was highly accurate. The Antikythera mechanism is currently housed in the Greek National Archaeological Museum in Athens and is thought to be one of the most complicated antiques in history. An X-ray machine had to be built especially for analysing the mechanisms and shipped to Greece. The people involved in piecing this together have done a fantastic job in decoding its secrets. But my question would be, how could man have possibly been able to calculate all of this into a hand-sized computer? I'm pretty sure the people involved in its recovery and research know there is more to this than meets the eye, and they would be correct in thinking that. And then I'll just pause this video a second. Yeah, they would be correct in thinking there's a bit more to it than meets the eye, guys, and there really is, because our work, as I've mentioned before, we believe there is technology projecting halos into the heavens, and these are controlling our luminaries. Now, you've seen by that admission there, by that bloke from the Vatican, there's technology, there's robots, there's things going on in the underworld, basically, and it's confirming what our research has been based upon. The Nazca lines I decoded, it's the same era, early 1900s, a lot going on. A lot of amazing discoveries relating to the mechanics of our world. So my dilemma there was, we were assuming the sun is passed from one halo to another, and you know, we were going along that route with our research. But I was talking to Stan Smith recently, and he says, no, it doesn't seem to work like that, because he does time-lapse photography and videography. And he showed me a clip. I'll just play the clip here. Now, if you look in the top right corner, there's one there. You can see one of the nodes off the halo, and it's actually moving. So that was good confirmation from Stan. So cheers, Stan. That put us on the right path again. Check this one out. You can see it actually moving there. The whole complete halo is moving. What they call sundogs are not sundogs. And you will see these in cold temperatures and when certain chemicals are sprayed into the atmosphere. What it's showing you is a projection from below, guys. This is a projection from below. We'll get to that. You can see now, here's the Antikythera mechanism overlaid with our world map and the blueprints that we're working with. Because to me, the Antikythera device can only have been modelled from something known or to have blueprints at that time. On this scale, it would be impossible for man to even map this out. But this is what it is. This is where it's coming from. It's a scale model of what's one of the layers in the underworld. Track work, mechanisms, gearing. We know there's already switching. There's signals being sent. There's things being rerouted, and it's a big part of the mechanism in the underworld. The cherubim, as you can see there, it would come out from its eastern portal or gate, whichever word you want to use for those terms, and go about its business following track work, cogs and gear until it reaches the far west. The projected sun is actually projected from something the angel or the cherubim is in possession of. If you look at it in this image here, you can see it's got a halo above its head. Now in scripture, I'll just read a bit about scripture there. Where's it at? This is from Ezekiel. And the cherubims lifted up their wings and mounted up from the earth in my sight. When they went out, the wheels also were beside them, and everyone stood at the door of the east gate of the Lord's house, and the glory of the God of Israel was over them above. What that is actually describing is the cherubim launching the sun into the heavens by way of raising their wings, which lift the physical halo in the underworld upwards, and the sun and its electromagnetic halo in the sky react accordingly. Then the cherubim sets off on its path with the sun following in the heavens, mimicking its every move as it moves from east to west, elevating and lowering the sun as its halo, whatever needed, on its set path. This also includes revolving in locations which is seen and noticeable by watching the sunspots, and even the moon's rotation. The projected halo can also be seen moving and rotating when certain chemicals such as barium or cold temperatures reveal their presence, as you've seen in the time-lapse videos. Mainstream call those sundogs, but they're not sundogs. They're part of the design of the workings of the realm. These are the electromagnetic projections from the underworld. You may remember from a previous video when I was decoding the Nazca lines, I also found a robot-like figure. We called him Robot Dude. I suspected then this was one of the cherubims, and it seems to be depicted in a console. Now, people are fixated upon the heavens and ponder the luminaries. I would recommend just using the luminaries as location markers. They are sky glyphs. They are telling their story. They are showing you where the cherubims are in the underworld at any given time. Their role appearing to be element and creation related, which one conscience will be discussing more in a few moments. So there we have it, guys. This is the model where we're following now. It's another layer in the underworld, and it's revealing how the mechanisms work with these luminaries, how they actually move around our heavens. They're projections from below. If you take a look at the halo around the cherubim, you'll notice a bright spot at the front of it there on Saturn's and Jupiter's. This here is what is being projected into the heavens and what we are seeing as planets or luminaries. Now the 12,000 in each tribe that you've seen on the overlaid grid, so that's where the 144,000 is coming from. So there could be up to 144,000 of these cherubims in the underworld moving luminaries around. That number to me would be unknown. You know, we're just going by planets, sun, moon, and a few other things. But them numbers are relative to the motions or workings of these luminaries. This is how it works, guys. It's basically like if you remember at the fairground, right? The bumping cars. It runs along an electromagnetic, an electrical grid. At the wheels, it's always live at the wheels. It's run on a live plate, and of course these cherubims they seem to be made of gold, which is a perfect conductor for electrical work. And that would explain how the particle accelerator it is holding aloft is still working, because that was the problem for me. How could a particle accelerator work if it's moving? But this kind of answers that for me now. It is running on electric plates. And that's what's keeping the power going in the accelerator. The particle accelerator is what you're seeing. You're seeing the electromagnetic projection from a particle accelerator in the underworld. This is why there's a big interesting particle accelerators in certain countries. There's about 25 locations currently in the world involved in this technology. This one here, this halo you can see here, this one appeared above one. One conscience, especially for her, especially for you, that one. Your own personal halo there. If you look, you will see them. They keep forming. They are not sundogs. As above, so below, guys. This is what it's telling you. If you're seeing things in the heavens, it means there's something going on below. We're not supposed to see these. We were never meant to see those. But because people are tampering, reverse engineering, God knows what else they're doing down there, we're seeing them. And like I said, barium shows them up. That one's from China. Miss China. Yeah, they just keep popping up. Stan's captured them, China. Michelle X has captured them. The ones on her own personal one as she come out and looked up. Mishka, she's had them. Sandra sent images of them. They just keep turning up in all weathers. So, a big part of the puzzle for us, you know, this now helps with a lot of work we're researching, because it'll help us progress more and understand these motions of the luminaries. I'm going to hand over to Anne now. She'll, since we discovered this, she's going to show you what she's been discovering going by this information. So I'll stop screen sharing and hand it over to you, Anne.
Yeah. Hey, FPV, thank you. That's very interesting stuff, man. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch this all over again. And
yeah, it's one of those again.
I gotta watch this again. But yeah, one, it's all you, hon. Go for it.
All right, thank you. First I'm going to put on a video that I made, and then I'm going to go into a couple more things that I came up with after he showed me all of this. So, hello. Today I'm going to go through some history of our planets and their behaviors, as well as some legends about them, leading up to the research I've been working on. Modern science calls astrology a pseudoscience. Most textbooks ignore how important having knowledge of the planets and constellations was for the ancient and medieval worlds. Symbols of the zodiac and planets permeate so much in art, architecture, literature, that it is important for any student of humanities to have at least a minimal understanding of the beliefs surrounding the heavens. Remember that astronomy was the study of the stars, planets, and constellations and their movements across the sky, while astrology was the ancient science of the influence of all those heavenly bodies on Earth and on human beings. The 7 planets of the ancient and medieval world included 2 planets that we are now told are not planets at all. The ancients saw the sun and the moon as planets that had an effect on Earth, just as they believed the other visible planets of the solar system did. All of these celestial bodies would have been seen as influential in a variety of ways, and in the order in which they appear from Earth, moving from nearest to furthest away. So, from Earth looking outward, the ancient astrologers believed the 7 planets in order of their influence were Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. It is these 7 planets, the gatekeepers, who may be seen as the Elohim, or plural creator gods, of the Hebrew creation story in Genesis. This name for God is used, for example, where the text is translated, "Let us make man in our image." So, from the dawn of history until around the 17th century, the universe consisted of these 7 planets. The word planet comes from the Greek meaning wanderers, or wandering stars. All ancients observed and recorded the planets for 4,000 known years. According to modern astrologers, approximately every 2,000 years, a new astrological age begins. You may have heard of the Age of Aquarius. It refers to the idea that we are just entering a 2,000-year period that will be characterized by marks associated with Aquarian personalities. On the positive side of these, it includes such traits as honesty, humanitarianism, open-mindedness, a somewhat scientific mind, and a willingness to learn from anyone. Through what is called the precession of the equinoxes, astrological ages seem to move backwards through the zodiac. So, the 2,000-year period we are leaving is the age of Pisces. The age for the prior 2,000 years would have been the age of Aries, and the period prior to that would have been Taurus, and so forth. We can see this depicted in ancient art with the bulls and rams included. Each planet, sun and moon included, were affiliated with a god or a goddess. Some cultures, like China and India, connected the planets with personal attributes and prediction of future events. There are even association between parts of the body and the zodiac signs that supposedly govern them. Astrology was considered a requisite study for all educated doctors and scientists until after the French Revolution in Europe. It was also one of the 3 required studies for Freemasons. In the 4th century BC, astronomy began to focus on a scientific side of observing. This caused a split between astronomy, astrology, and religion. The lunar calendar was also replaced with the Gregorian calendar in 1745. It divides the solar year into 13 months of 28 days each. It is therefore a perennial calendar with every date fixed to the same weekday each year. By changing this, they removed the perfect flow of measured time and replaced it with irregular, artificial, and harmonious time system. The advantages of the International Fixed Calendar are the subdivision of the year is very regular and systematic. Each year has 52 weeks divided into 13 months. Each month has exactly 28 days divided into 4 weeks. In the 16th century, the word planet became much more specialized. Instead of them moving with the stars, the planets came to mean objects that orbited the Earth. While the Sun was still known to orbit the Earth at this time, it was no longer considered a planet. It had become a star that continued to grow and grow. By 17th century, this had all become quite messy. The public had really begun to accept the heliocentric model that the planets orbited the Sun, including the Earth. The Moon was dropped as a planet since it did not appear to orbit the Sun. So, when we learn how the ancients thought of our heavens and how everything is perceived today, one must wonder, how do they travel and how do they affect our Earth plane? All is energy. They must have an effect, as the ancients knew. They run like clockwork on their own unique halo systems. They all move counterclockwise except Venus and Uranus. They all travel the halos and are contained within our realm. They are light. We see it dancing around in a lot of the P900 videos I've seen, as well as looking through binoculars myself. They do not look like NASA's photos. So, what are alignments? They are when planets fall within a specific degree distance of other planets. 2 or more planets form a geocentric alignment. So, do they affect our Earth plane? Yes, certain alignments do affect events on Earth. First, I'm going to share some records from the ancients, and then I'll share some information I've gathered and show you how. In the spring of 685 BC, some events were recorded by the ancients. First, Mercury made electric contact with Earth, a shock they called it, which could have radically altered Mercury's orbit. Second, at the end of the year, Venus disappeared behind the Sun 30 days earlier than what it was expected to. Third, on June 15th, several things occurred. According to ancient recordings, the Sun went into a high activity, and for 1.5 month long series of continual corneal mass ejections, it hurled tons of protons into the surrounding space. The effect was, it caused unusual auroras on Earth. Also, June 15th, the Olmecs note that the Sun was not setting in the proper location. It changed its path, they recorded. This condition lasted for some 40 days. And finally, on June 15th, it was the day of the new moon. Venus and Mercury, located close together in the sky, started blazing like suns. 2 suns were seen battling in the sky, China recorded. A couple of legends that were tied to this event were that Venus, portrayed as Aphrodite, had taken a young boy as a lover, but soon destroyed him with a blast of fire, a thunderbolt. And also, Hesiod mentions Venus and Mercury sacrificed themselves in order to defeat the lords of the underworld and start creation. The next event is Jupiter also received a plasma outpouring from the Sun. It switched into a glow mode on July 9th, and it produced a three-pronged plume at its north and a gigantic split outpouring at its south. In fact, on this same date, the Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter were all in alignment. On July 4th, Jupiter responded with a returning lightning stroke directed at the Sun. A mass energy was released, seen and recorded worldwide. Its travel was followed for 11 days. Asia and Europe recorded they saw it approaching. The people of the Americas recorded they got a full broadside view as the bolt passed. The plasma bolt launched from Jupiter was known as the lightning bolt of Zeus. This all seems hard to believe, except that these are close and they travel in the layers of the halo system. So, how can this all happen? After reading that bit, it sounds to me like an electrical discharge of a pre-designed trigger of the halo system. Pre-designed electromagnetic paths. When the wanderers hit the pre-designed spots, they release charged particles, making up the solar wind spiral paths along the magnetic field lines. The velocity of each particle as it travels around the field line can be treated similarly to a thermal velocity in an ordinary gas. This means thermal velocity is roughly the speed of sound. It's the signals. So, now I'll show you what I've researched with a few different alignments and recorded Earth events, and what I found is that there are signals sent when these alignments happen. The signals cause very large Earth events in the area that receives the signal. Above stated events of Earth being shocked, the odd auroras, the Sun not setting properly for 40 days, and the energy bolts being sent about between the planets are from signals being sent, probably from the alignment of Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter. Some of the recent examples I gathered are August 31st, 2013, we had a sextile alignment and it led to a megaquake, an 8.0 or higher. On February 4th, 2004, we had a square alignment and we had 2 megaquakes that day. On August 17th, 1987, we had a trine alignment and we had a megaquake that day. March 23rd, 2017, there was a square alignment and we had 2 megaquakes and there were 58 erupting volcanoes that day. And on April 14th, we had a Grand Cross alignment and we had a megaquake along with 11 sevens and 10 sixes. So these few examples do show us that these alignments indeed affect Earth events, and possibly the people here as well. All the data I have gathered here, and will continue to gather, will show us how this is all part of a design system that has certain trigger points. When the points are hit from the movement of the celestials, it sends the signals that cause these Earth events. This makes a lot of sense when we think of how there is below us a technical system of plates, receiving the signals sent, connected electrically and magnetically to the firmament above. As above, so below. Next, we can take a look at the planets I've recorded and see them moving about on the halo system. On the maps I've made, they're in their correct zodiac signs. This took quite some time to gather the data for this because you can't make the planets move faster to track their movement. However, it's worth it, I feel, because we can, as always, we can see real data and show how it affects us. So, A few things that I learned while we go ahead and watch this is Earth is a transceiver. It continuously absorbs impulses, frequencies, and our signals. This is all energy. It projects upwards and outwards from below through the antenna system. The energy comes out as electromagnetic waves that release as earthquakes, sun and moon movement, winds, tides, and all other Earth events. So, what is a frequency? It is the number of occurrences of a repeating event per unit of time. If these frequencies and signals affect the Earth, do they affect us? I'm figuring yes, they must affect us. We have our own unique frequency as well, and introducing a different vibe would affect the existing vibe, correct? While doing this research, I ran into a little bit of info that the planets do indeed emit a frequency. It ranges between 189 Hz for Mars up to 455 Hz for Saturn. This will be the next project that I'm working on, is to find out if and how alignments affect us. So, coming up, we're hoping to be doing a live stream with Santos and share the information which we know can be helpful to both parties. What we need help with is luminary positioning within the halo system. Once it's done, it can help us work out where each of the Wanderers' individual halo systems are. Now that we're aware there's a technology at play, this changes everything. It gives us many counter explanations that mainstream could never give us, nor would they give us. This truly does give us an answer about why they would lie about the shape of the world. What we really need to think about is how far will these people go to keep the secret? How many people have to die and be silenced just to keep this lie? So, as we watched them, we can see how I played with where to put them a bit. I did decide to leave them on the outer halo until I figured out which halo system that I need to place them on. The best data for that would be real footage of the illuminary and the direction the viewer sees it from their location. Also, when I mapped these, I jumped a few days with each map so we could actually see them moving. They do take time to move around and record. Also, if you note the little R's next to some of the planets, this is showing that they are currently in retrograde on the map date. So that brings up another question. What is retrograde? Well, dictionary.com says it's moving backwards, retiring, retreating. In astronomy, it is moving in the opposite direction of its natural order. Or does it really? We questioned that, and what we will show you in the video FPV put together is as it moves about the halos it's traveling on, it's our perception as it goes around that it is having a backwards appearance. With our angle and perception, it appears to slow down or go backwards, but it's actually traveling the full halo and returning to the point to move to the next halo. By the way, thank you FPV for the great video. Very good work. This is really all I have to share at this time. Thank you for listening, and I'll hand the floor over now.
No, it's not one.
Yeah, good stuff.
Excellent presentation.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Loved it. Yeah,
very.
I loved that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that again too.
I do have a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, every view, more to come.
Nice.
Give me a second. Okay. All right. Do you guys still see that?
Yeah, good to go.
Yep.
All right. So the next bit I put together, I did it at the last minute, actually. What I put together was a few pictures, and I wanted to do some correlations that I saw of the mechanism that FPV showed. As soon as I saw it, I had like this feeling, I kind of knew it was going to fit with a whole lot of things. I could just see it from the start. I had heard of this mechanism, but I had never seen it laid out until yesterday. When FPV showed me, I really literally had a jaw drop moment. I was quite shocked, and then my mind started spinning with correlations. Well, anyway, what the first one is the Antikythera mechanism laid over the Earth. And like I was saying, I can see the infinity symbol. It reminds me of our jet streams. So that kind of showed me right away how our jet streams are being pulled along. The second thing that I wanted to map out were the chakras of our Earth. And when I put them down on the map along with the mechanism, everyone can see where they're sitting. They're sitting right on top of all the cogs, which also explains why there's such great energy spots coming from those areas. The third thing, and this was actually the first thing that grabbed my eye, was the earthquakes. So I took my earthquake paths and I moved them going around these cogs, and amazingly, everywhere there's an arrow is one of our very big hit spots of earthquakes. So that tells me that these cogs turning and vibrating could be more likely the cause of these earthquakes that we have. And the very last one that I did was I put the planets over it all. And I just wanted to kind of see if each cog would possibly run a planet motion.
That large one would certainly explain Jupiter's orbit, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and Saturn. Those
time it takes.
Yep, the couple in the middle there, because they're so large. They both take so long, Jupiter and Saturn do, to go around. So yeah, it would, and I don't know if they're on the right place again on this map, but that's what we would need, real data. You know, where are the planets? What is their position in the sky? What direction do you see them from your position? And maybe we could get a good idea of exactly where these go and what cogs they run on. But that really is all I have this time. So,
no comment.
yeah, that's really all I have, but thanks for listening.
Yeah, fantastic one. Lovely.
Really excellent.
Great presentation. Thank you. I'm going to have to definitely watch this again. Yeah, moving forward. James, what's up?
Well, it might seem a little lackluster what I have to present today, but it really does go to one of the myths of science, or actually one of the lies of science, and right to the heart of it and to the heart of our environment. Again, I've done a lot of stuff on petrification, and the big thing is that the myth is that petrification takes millions of years, or a long time. And the fact of the matter is that it is actually a very rapid process. Of course, depending on some conditions, but it is very rapid. Now, I'm going to do a PowerPoint presentation of just some material I've gathered on petrification, places that and water sources that cause an animal that drinks from that water to turn to stone. And some of the examples are indeed from the Scientific American magazine, which has apparently a high level of credibility, at least in this sense. I'm willing to say that they're probably pretty accurate, and we'll get right into the presentation if you like there. But I'll start a screen share, and that one should be present to everyone, and click on me. So I don't know, I'll wait till, is it sharing and presenting now?
Perfect, Jim. Yeah, carry on, mate.
Okay. I won't do it in the, I could do it in the other mode there. Let me just go to slideshow. Okay. So we're going to look at petrification and the petrification of matter, okay? Now again, the myth is that it takes literally thousands and millions of years to petrify things. Here we have a place called the Petrifying Wells in England, and people go there to bring trinkets and other stuff to bathe them in this water. And this water has alkali minerals in it that cause anything it touches to become petrified. And this process does not take a long time. In fact, depending on what you're petrifying, it can be days or weeks. So here we have some samples hanging up there, a teapot. People bring little teddy bears. And there's one lady who petrifies stuff and sells them. She makes trinkets out of stuff. There's a statue at the top here. It's a petrified angel, I believe, and not necessarily a statue. But again, that's just my own opinion. But as it says here, if an object is placed into such a well and left for a period of a week or months, the object acquires a stony exterior. At one time, this property was believed to be the result of magic or witchcraft, but it is an entirely natural phenomena due to the process of evaporation and deposition in the waters of unusually high mineral content. Okay, so they're saying it takes weeks or months to, even just petrify the outside and start the process towards the center. But in any case, it's if you take your favorite rose bush and place it and allow the stream to drip down through its thorny side, it will, of course, in the course of 12 moons, become a petrified rock. That's 1 year. It can turn roses into rock. So that's not millions of years by a long stretch. Shave off all those zeros, science tells you, when they show you something that's been petrified, like, quote, their fake dinosaurs and stuff. The thing they always try to enforce is that petrification takes millions of years, and the fact is, weeks and months and years is enough to petrify anything. Of course, depending on size and conditions. But again, anything can fossilize, and organics even more so. Here's a picture of some fossilized wood from somewhere out southwestern USA. And again, that came in contact with possibly some petrified. It was underwater at one time, and it certainly did become petrified. Here's an example of where the man-made petrification of wooden stuff is done in an oven and with some argon gas or whatever, and just all this pseudoscience to try to, speed up the millions of years process, as they claim, or whatever. So we won't delve too much in that. But, petrified wood, solid block of wood petrified in only a year. Not millions of years, only a year, So we have a whole history that implies that people were petrified, turned to stone in all kinds of mythology. Pretty well universally through mythology, petrification and turning to stone is recorded. Okay, in Homer's Odyssey, it's recounted that the god Poseidon turned a ship into stone. small island off Greece, and what is it, Corsica or Corsica, Corfu? It's a petrified ship of a giant. We have all kinds of statues and art. We've been there before, but again, petrification, like some of these statues, they were really people. Another one, idiom, daughter and granddaughter of whatever, was a priestess, temple, and for whatever reason, some fighting, someone turned someone else to stone. So the myth just over and over says that in one way or another, people knew how to petrify each other at one point in history.
Well, couldn't Medusa just look at you and turn you to petrification?
Yep, the snake-headed woman would turn you to stone if you looked at her face.
Yeah.
Bacchus, a figure in Greek mythology, was witness to Hermes stealing Apollo's cattle. He was punished by being turned to stone.
He was petrified, right?
He was petrified.
The legend, yeah.
This is one of our beatified saints in display in, I guess the Vatican or France even. This is in France, but the church knows a lot about petrification and don't really talk to us much about it. They keep it their little secret. But this person, you can see that almost glazed look, glassy look to her. She wasn't preserved with formaldehyde pumped into her veins. She was given solution that caused the petrification. There are other examples. This is St. Vincent de Paul. He's one of the beatified saints, and he also has been preserved not through the process of formaldehyde, which stinks to high heaven and don't give the skin that glassy characteristic or look, but he also was basically turned to stone. Now, there are places on Earth, and a lot of them, that contain bad water. This bad water, if you or an animal drinks it, you'll convulse, you'll die, and you'll start to petrify. Now, this Nick Brandt is an amazing photographer, and although these look like art photography, these are photos coming that are from Lake Natron in Africa, and they represent some creatures that had the misfortune of drinking the water. Here we have, I guess at the left is a seagull, and at the right is an actual bird of prey, possibly an eagle. Now, if these petrified millions of years ago, I think wind, storms, other stuff would have, kind of broke the wood they're on and disintegrated them. These photos he was able to take because in recent times, these birds drank the water and petrified. Here we have a little bat that met the same fate. He drank the water. And this is just one lake with bad water in Africa, in Tanzania. Here's a dove, I guess, that drank the water and paid the price. Here, well, we can tell very well this is a swan. And again, what's funny is some pink flamingos are actually able to, well, mess around in that water and not become preserved, but apparently not this kind of swan. And petrification is taught to us today. Again, we're told that the process can take between a few and millions of years, which is totally absurd when you consider what we've just seen. I don't know what this is. Whatever that was. Why is our education system still promoting the myth that, petrification takes millions of years? Because it's part of a total construct of lies that they've been feeding people forever. They don't want you to know because it takes away from their myths of millions of years and their dinosaurs and their, age of rocks and their carbon dating and all this nonsense.
Exactly.
Whole pseudoscience based on, well, telling people one thing when the reality is something else. People have been told petrification takes millions of years, and that is an outright lie. yet they continue to lie. Now, there's all kinds of different things, but we'll get into the lakes, I guess. Mythology. Well, we're back into the mythology. Again, over and over and over through mythology, people, well, for whatever reason, got angry at each other. They were able to petrify each other, which is kind of strange. Here's another. I guess I'm on the wrong one, but because I made a few copies of this. Okay, the petrifying lakes. Now, in every country almost, in Canada, in the US, and in Colombia, in every country, there's bad water. There are places where they say, don't drink the water. Take the advice. Don't drink the water. These are called alkaline lakes, and there are literally hundreds of them around, well, across the plain. We start with some list of them. Here we have Ethiopia, and this is only a partial list. Literally, there are 100 or more, a couple hundred even, of these lakes, and I'm sure they haven't all been identified. We have them in Kenya. We have them in Tanzania. We've just seen more in Tanzania. High mineral lakes that if a creature drinks from them, they become petrified. If something falls in it, they'll become petrified if they don't get out. In North America, Mono Lake in the USA, I believe that's in Utah, is a petrifying lake. Other soda lakes in Nevada, Soap Lake in the US, I don't know what town that is. Baldwin Lakes, you can't drink it, you can't swim in it. Alkali Lake, Oregon, good luck drinking that water. Summer Lake, Owens Lake. Borax Lake in the USA, it's got borax in it. Manitou Lake in Canada, don't drink the water. Good Enough Lake in Canada, don't drink the water. Mexico, Chile, they're just all over the world. So I guess that's about it. I was reading up on some Royal Academy stuff on petrification. In this volume, they are discussing why to tell people petrification takes millions of years and not tell them that it's a rapid process. And this is from, I believe, the 16 or 1700s, this document. But in any case, I mean, they planned the lie long ago. And that's it for the presentation. But the basic thing to get out of this is that petrification is a rapid process. It does not take millions of years. And there are plenty of ways that, you know, the job can be done, not just drinking water. But that's about it for that presentation.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
Fantastic, Jim. Lovely,
yeah,
mate.
definitely.
Did you mention about the milk?
Yeah, well, it used to be in the old days before plastics and everything, people would make their own buttons and other things. They'd take milk, add a little vinegar to it, precipitate out the casein, filter it, and then, well, add some sodium carbonate or other salts to it, and it makes a stone. You can, when it's in its plastic state, when you first mixed it, you can shape it or mold it to any shape you want, buttons, knobs, anything, and let it solidify. When it solidifies, it is hard as rock. In fact, it is rock made from milk. So you can basically take anything, fish, chicken, any type of flesh, and petrify the proteins within it. And it doesn't take millions of years.
Something else we noticed between us, Jim, and one that we passed on to Michelle X was some of the materials that can be used for quick petrification, which turned out to be aluminium, silicon, and just add a bit of heat.
Yep.
The importance of that, guys, is this stuff is actually being chemtrailed.
One of the things that's very sensitive about the human anatomy and body is we're basically water suspending a whole bunch of minerals. the petrification is just a switch being turned on, kind of, that says it's like changing the pH in your system. If it shifts a certain way, alkaline to alkaline, the water will be forced out of your cells, minerals will enter those cells, and you will turn to stone. But yes, different things, radio frequencies can cause petrification. When we drink apple juice, it has a diptic acid in it. It's a byproduct of one of the breakdown sugars. A lot of people have kidney stones. Kidney stones start with tiny pyramidal crystals of adipic acid from usually apple juice. So if you drink too much apple juice, it is not good for your kidneys. It can't process it all, and some of it stays behind as tiny crystals. Sometimes you pass them out, sometimes they grow. Again, it depends on your diet, you know. It's hard to believe that you could hurt yourself eating too many apples and drinking too much apple juice, but you actually could. Too much of any one thing will toxify your system. Variety is the spice of life. So at some point, if you like, you can look, one guy, he ate pizza morning, noon, and night, and he became allergic to it. He can't eat pepperoni, can't eat flour, can't eat anything that was in a pizza. So your body can't handle everything, and some of our behaviors with food and stuff are actually very detrimental to our both short-term and long-term health. So you are what you eat. Try to vary it a lot. But there are many ways that the petrification process can be triggered, and it ain't hard. I mean, these giants that are all petrified now may have been petrified by the mechanics and some frequencies emitted by the angels, or these mechanisms. And, you know, all these things that we're looking up and then petrified looking at light or whatever they were looking at, that signal or whatever triggered the petrification came from above. The only thing I know that's above really that could do that is, you know, these so-called angel technologies and the frequencies they can emit. So just as you can speed up processes with heat and, you know, other stuff, sometimes you can speed up processes with different frequencies. You know, we have microwave, speeds up heating of water. So we're having a big rollout of a G5 system, which is, I don't know, probably in the gigahertz, and probably not very good for, like, none of the high frequency radiation is good for us. You have to understand that these waves heat cells, they cause them to cook. So, you know, even if you don't boil like a chicken in a microwave, that exposure is damaging cells all the time you're exposed to it. They have microwave towers outside schools and playgrounds and everything that have so much microwave energy cooking these kids that it's pathetic. People don't recognize the danger. When people work on these microwave towers, they have extremely short careers and extreme health issues to deal with thereafter. Because when you go up, they don't turn off the rest so you can work on one. So you're cooking while you're up there. And a lot of microwave now, if you look around your town, around, you know, in cities you used to see all these dish antennas on the tops and rooftops of buildings, big buildings. Now they're rectangular and they look basically almost like neon light fixtures. Well, a lot of those are Shadow Masters. It's a company that manufactures antennas and modems, and they assemble like sometimes 100 or more of these modems, 1-watt modems, in one of these apparatus, and they each broadcast, you know, different data. Now, the laws covering and governing, radio frequency transmission say that they can't broadcast 1,000 watts off a roof. So it's sort of what they've done to circumvent the law is they're not broadcasting 1,000 watts, even though there's 1,000 watts being broadcast. It's divided by the number of 1 watt or 2 watt units, because you are allowed to broadcast 1 watt. So, it's like the Chinese. If 1,000 people take a bite out of someone, how do you know who killed them? Basically, it's the same thing. It's like 1,000 bites. The only way they had to circumvent the legal limitations of having a high wattage broadcast transmitter was to divide it into a whole bunch of little transmitters. But it's still, the overall radiant power out is 1,000 watts. It's 1,000 watts. It really doesn't matter if it's all divided into 1 watt little devices. It's the overall effective radiant power is still going to be 1,000 watts. Now, if you have some of these things on your rooftop, and you're in a nice high building, and you're on the top 2 or 3 floors, and, well, you have a baby, it's being microwaved. It's growing up, with some cells already cooking. You're too close. But in any case, they're there, and they're poisoning us, they're cooking our cells, and, unless people say, hey, that microwave tower right beside the preschool, gotta go, then they're going to keep them there, and they're going to keep cooking your children. But eventually people will start to complain, will recognize the danger, and they will have to move these things or find a different way of, allowing us to use the technologies that don't cook us and kill us instead of all this artificial man-made stuff that seems to be engineered to do so. And that's about it.
That's where we're at, guys, and hopefully the work we're putting out might make some change in the world for the better. We do some better instead of worse, surely.
Yeah, you guys, very interesting stuff. Thank you. I've learned quite a bit, and I got to rewatch some of this stuff. I don't know if, I'm not watching the chat, but I don't know if anybody in chat had any questions for you guys. I'm sure Cat's eyes on chat.
Well, maybe what we should do is just polish it off right here, restart the Hangout. That way we don't have to edit it after to edit out, part of this question answer session. That way we can handle them 2 separately. So it just takes a minute to reboot with a new Hangout, get that one to compile, and we'll be here for question and answer. Sound good?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Are you ready for that, Cats? Okay, right on.
I guess. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so we'll all poof for a minute and come back with a new hang.
For chat. All right, we'll be right back, y'all.
Hold on tight.